for me. Like, I was in Ruskin, Florida. I was a teenager, and I hadn't decided I was going to be a comedian. And
before we go anywhere, I need you to understand something. Everything you're about to hear in this video, every single claim, is grounded in real documents, real interviews, and real verifiable reporting. I am not here to gossip. I'm not here to stir up drama for the sake of clicks. I'm here because the truth has officially come out, and somehow, most people are still not putting the pieces together. So stay with me. Because when you see this timeline laid out clearly, when you see how these names connect, how these events line up, it stops feeling like entertainment news. It starts feeling like something much more serious. This story connects Katt Williams to Jay-Z, to Jeffrey Epstein, to over 3 million government documents that were just released to the American public. And I'm going to walk you through all of it, step by step, without sensationalizing a single detail. Let's start at the beginning. The man Hollywood never could control. In January 2024, a comedian sat down for what everyone assumed would be a normal podcast interview. He talked for nearly 3 hours straight. And by the time it was over, the internet had completely changed. That man was Katt Williams. If you're not deeply familiar with Katt Williams, here's what you need to know. He is one of the most celebrated stand-up comedians in American history. Emmy Award winner, box office star, a man who has spent over 30 years inside an industry that, by his own admission, has spent just as long trying to manage him. That's the key word, manage. Because Katt Williams is someone Hollywood has never been able to fully control, and he has never pretended otherwise. He told Shannon Sharpe, the host of Club Shay Shay, that even when he showed up to the big industry parties, he wasn't there to network or fit in.
thank you.
Jewelry.
Yeah, I'm becoming the new Liberace, it appears. Everybody wants to talk about the jewelry. I just need the motivation. I need to look down and see I'm doing something to keep me...
He was there to observe, to pay attention to who was in the room, what they were after, and what they were willing to do to get it. His exact words, "Nobody likes having me around. I'm there for bad intentions." That is not the language of a man who stumbled into controversy. That is the language of someone who walked into the room knowing exactly what he was doing. And it turns out, he did. At the Vulture Festival in November 2024, Katt Williams openly confirmed what a lot of people had suspected, that the Club Shay Shay interview was not some off-the-cuff moment. It was calculated. He said he went in with the specific goal of destroying the careers of the people he talked about. He said he had analyzed the algorithm, understood how information spreads online, and used it to make sure his message hit with maximum force. That interview ended up with over 85 million views on YouTube. It became one of the most watched podcast episodes in the entire history of the platform. But here's what most people missed in all the noise. Buried inside that 3-hour conversation, Katt Williams said something that millions of people heard but didn't fully grasp. He looked directly into the camera and said, "All these big deviants are catching hell in 2024. All lies will be exposed. Anyone who takes that the wrong way knows exactly why they take it the wrong way." He also made a very specific comment about Sean Combs, the music mogul known as Diddy. He said Diddy has a habit of wanting to party and that you have to be willing to tell him no. Then he said, "I did, and I've got the receipts." The reaction was immediate. Media outlets dismissed him as bitter. Late-night hosts mocked him. Saturday Night Live put together an entire sketch making fun of the interview. Then, 9 months later, federal agents raided Diddy's homes in Miami and Los Angeles. In 2025, Diddy's federal trial for racketeering and sex trafficking was officially scheduled. He has been sitting in a jail cell in Brooklyn ever since his arrest, maintaining his innocence. Nobody was laughing at Katt Williams anymore. Shannon Sharpe later told GQ magazine that he never imagined, in a million years, that everything Katt predicted would actually come to pass. He said that when Katt started talking at the top of the interview, he had to make a split-second decision, cut him off or let him go. He let him go. And the rest, as they say, is history. The point is this: Katt Williams was not guessing. He was not performing. He was telling you what he already knew.
Because I was proud that it didn't matter in the relationship, but it's still like you're a kid holding your mom's hand. We're in the
Now we need to talk about Jeffrey Epstein, because this is where the story stops being about celebrity gossip and becomes something much larger. Jeffrey Epstein was a wealthy financier who operated a sex trafficking network that reached some of the most powerful and well-connected people in the world. He was arrested in 2019 on federal charges. That same year, he died in a Manhattan jail cell under circumstances that legal experts and investigators still publicly question to this day. His associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, was convicted in 2021 on federal sex trafficking charges. She is currently serving a 20-year prison sentence. These are not allegations. These are documented facts, proven in federal court. For years, the American public has been asking one very simple, very reasonable question. Who else was involved? In November 2025, Congress answered that question, at least partially, by passing the Epstein Files Transparency Act. President Trump signed it into law. The legislation required the Department of Justice to publicly release all documents connected to the Epstein investigation. On January 30, 2026, the DOJ followed through. Over 3 million pages of documents dropped at once, along with roughly 2,000 videos and about 180,000 images. The internet did not know what to do with itself, because buried inside those 3 million pages were names. Recognizable names. Names that people had whispered about for years. And one of the most prominent names that surfaced in the public conversation was Jay-Z, whose legal name is Sean Carter. Now, stop right here. Because this is the part where I need to be extremely precise, because most people covering this story are not being precise, and that is doing real damage to public understanding. Here is exactly what the documents say about Jay-Z. Nothing more, nothing less. According to FBI crisis intake reports from 2019, which were filed through a public tip hotline, an anonymous caller alleged that she had been drugged and that Jay-Z was present in a room with her and Harvey Weinstein during an alleged incident that took place back in 1996. A separate report from a different caller named Pusha T as an alleged handler in a different, unrelated incident. That is what the documents say. Here is what the DOJ has said about those documents. They include unverified public tips. Because of how broadly the Epstein Files Transparency Act was written, everything submitted to the FBI tip hotline, including potentially false or completely fabricated information, was included in the release. The government made that distinction explicitly clear. Legal experts across the board have confirmed that Jay-Z's name appearing in these files does not mean he was ever investigated, charged, or found guilty of anything whatsoever. There is more. A forensic review of the official flight logs showed that Jay-Z's name does not appear on any of Epstein's documented private jet manifests, not once. A separate civil lawsuit that named Jay-Z in connection with sexual assault allegations was filed in December 2024. That lawsuit was voluntarily dismissed by the accuser herself in February 2025, after significant inconsistencies were found in her account. So, to be completely direct with you, Jay-Z has not been charged with any crime. He has not been formally investigated in connection with the Epstein case. His name appeared in an unverified tip submitted anonymously to a public hotline. That is the full, factual picture. But here is the question that the internet keeps asking, and I actually think it is a fair one. Why is his name showing up at all? And what, if anything, does Katt Williams have to do with any of this? The timeline that changes everything go back to January 2024. Katt Williams sits down with Shannon Sharpe. During that interview, he says, "I know so many things I should not know, and they all know it." Now walk through the timeline slowly. January 2024. Katt Williams goes on Club Shay Shay and tells the world that powerful deviants are going to face consequences. That all lies will be exposed. He specifically calls out Diddy by name. September 2024. Federal agents raid Diddy's properties in Miami and Los Angeles. November 2025. Congress passes the Epstein Files Transparency Act. January 2026. 3 million government documents are released to the public, and several high-profile names, including Jay-Z, surface inside FBI tip files. Now, to be honest with you, Katt Williams did not predict any of this specifically. He did not have a crystal ball. He did not name Epstein's files or forecast a federal transparency law. But what he clearly possessed, in a way that most people did not, was a genuine understanding of how deeply interconnected the entertainment industry's most powerful circles were.
Yes, I know you love golf.
Yeah.
But then you had to stop playing for a while because you tore both rotator cuffs. You ready for this? Doing a push-up contest. Why?
Hold on. Losing.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Losing a push-up contest. Yeah,
You
not
said
doing
it like maybe I won.
Yeah, no, sorry. I just can't.
Really are. He talked about the culture of silence. He talked about how certain people received opportunities that made no logical sense, and how the real currency in those rooms was not talent. It was loyalty, leverage, and the willingness to stay quiet. He described an industry that runs on favors and fear in equal measure. And then, in a later appearance on Carmelo Anthony's podcast, he said something that I think reframes the entire narrative around him. He said his goal was never to stir up drama. His goal was to restore order. Restore order. When you look at everything that has unfolded since that January interview, the federal raid on Diddy's homes, the sex trafficking charges, the Epstein documents, the names being named in FBI files, it does not feel like drama anymore. It feels like documentation. What this is actually about. I want to take a moment here, because there is something critically important that gets completely buried underneath all the viral headlines, the reaction videos, and the social media debates. The Epstein investigation is not ultimately about which celebrity's name appears in a document. It is about real victims, many of whom were minors at the time the abuse occurred, who were trafficked, exploited, and silenced for decades while powerful, wealthy, well-connected men protected each other and themselves. Ghislaine Maxwell was convicted. Jeffrey Epstein was a convicted sex offender. Those are not opinions. Those are federal court findings. The reason the public is so desperate for more answers is because it is absolutely clear that Epstein did not operate alone. He had enablers. He had people who were present, who knew, and who chose to look the other way. The question of exactly who those people are is still being answered, painstakingly, page by page. The DOJ itself released a clarifying memo in July 2025, stating that there is no formal client list inside the Epstein files, at least not in the neat, definitive way that social media has portrayed it. But those 3 million documents do raise serious, uncomfortable, and completely legitimate questions about power. About who has it, how they use it, and how the wealthy and well-connected have historically shielded each other from consequences that ordinary people would never escape. Katt Williams seemed to understand that dynamic long before any documents confirmed it. He understood that the entertainment industry, at its highest levels, operates on a system of mutual protection. And he understood that when you break that code, when you step in front of a camera and start saying the things that are supposed to stay quiet, those same systems come after you. They called him crazy. They said he was bitter and unstable. They put him in sketches and made him a punchline on national television. But he kept talking, and now in 2026, the documents are doing the talking for him. Where do we go from here? The Epstein files are still being actively processed. Researchers, investigative journalists, and federal investigators are working through millions of pages of material. We are realistically months, possibly years, away from having a complete picture of what those documents actually contain and what they actually mean. Jay-Z has not been charged. He has not been formally accused of any crime in any legal proceeding that has survived scrutiny. The civil lawsuit that named him was dismissed by the person who filed it. But the broader conversation, the one about who knew Epstein, who benefited from his network, who enabled his operation to run for as long as it did, that conversation is not going away. It is, if anything, getting louder with each passing week. Katt Williams opened a door in January 2024. That door has not closed. And with every new document release, every new disclosure, every new name that surfaces, it opens a little wider. Here is what we can say with total certainty. Katt Williams told the world something was coming before most people had any reason to believe him. He said lies would be exposed. He said powerful people were going to face real consequences for the things they had done. He was right about Diddy. Whether he is right about everything else, we are all going to find out together. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, genuinely, thank you. This is a heavy topic. It is complicated, and it involves real people whose lives were destroyed by those with far more power than them. I wanted to give it the seriousness it deserves, rather than treating it like celebrity gossip, because it is not celebrity gossip. It never was. Every source I referenced in this video is linked in the description below. Please go read them yourself.